everyone, welcome to NeoUnrealist. I'm guessing that a lot of you have forgotten by now that there's a Department of Justice Inspector General report that was originally supposed to be released by now, that it was regarding primarily the FBI's use of that phony Hillary Clinton opposition research to get FISA warrants obtained against members of the 2016 Trump campaign. Now, it's clearly it's overdue, but it's actually just been rescheduled to be released in September. Now, of course, there's some other things that are being looked at by the Inspector General. His name's Michael Horowitz. Now, besides the fake dossier getting used for getting those FISA warrants, Paul Sperry of RealClear Investigations. Yes, they are associated with the RealClear Politics organization, the news and polling people. You know, they give you the poll of polls, the average of the polls for a particular election race. It's actually a pretty good way to do polling, is to take the, I guess you call it a meta poll. But anyway, they're reporting that the two United States officials who have been briefed on the Inspector General's investigation of possible FBI misconduct, the two officials that they spoke to who have been briefed on the matter told them that Comey was running a covert operation against the President of the United States, President-elect and President, spanned the time before and after the inauguration. Now, it starts with what Comey himself called, in his book, the defensive briefing, quote-unquote, that he gave to Trump in New York a few weeks before he took office on Inauguration Day. That was in January of 2017. The two sources indicated that Horowitz has seen text messages and other communications between then high-level people at the FBI that lead him to believe that former FBI Director James Comey was performing a counterintelligence assessment of Trump during that meeting. He was trying to present. He was presenting Trump with the PP dossier allegations, and to see how Trump reacted, or if he would surrender any information that he could use against him. Now, we already know by James Comey's own admission that, he was taking notes of his meetings and his phone calls with Trump, and adding them to the official FBI case file. I think this happened like 9 times. Now, this is a practice which, if my memory serves me, Comey said under penalty of perjury to Congress that he never did this with any other president or high official ever. Not Obama, not Bush, no one. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, after all, we already knew that. On top of that, RealClear Investigations is reporting that other sources that are familiar with the matter say that Comey had an agent inside the White House who reported back to FBI headquarters about Trump and his people. Remember what Comey did at that January 6, 2017 meeting. He cleared the room so that he could be alone with the president-elect, Donald Trump, and told him about the PP in the Moscow hotel room fairy tale that was in the Steele dossier. Right? He doesn't tell Trump that this is coming from Hillary Clinton opposition research, leaving Trump with the impression that this is raw intelligence product generated by the FBI. So that right there is misleading. Yeah, you have the FBI director misleading the president. So then all of a sudden, almost right after that meeting, you got reports of that meeting somehow getting to the press. Wow, gee, I wonder how that happened. He's alone with Trump, and the only people that really knew about what he was going to do at that meeting were the people that he met with the day before. We'll talk about that in a little while. But suddenly you have a story that had no validity because no news outlet could corroborate the Steele dossier at that point that was being shopped to them. All of a sudden now it's fair game for reporting. If you remember, it was BuzzFeed that first broke it, and CNN and the rest of them all piled on because now they had a news hook that even though the information was salacious and nobody could verify it, the elements of what was in that dossier, it'd been briefed to the president-elect by James Comey, And that opened the floodgates for them to spill out each and every vile, false, and outrageous lie in that despicable document, that they gleefully reported. Now, also recall that the so-called defensive briefing took place, like I mentioned, just before, the day after Comey met inside the Oval Office with then President Barack Obama, Vice President Joe Biden, National Security Advisor Susan Rice, former Homeland Security Secretary Jed Johnson, Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates, and National Intelligence Director James Clapper, who, in case I need to remind you, Clapper now works for CNN. Coincidence how, information was getting to outlets like CNN about stuff that you wonder how they got it, what President Trump was being briefed on by Comey. But anyway, those people that I just listed, they amount to the high command of the cabal to undermine Trump, all assembled there in one room the day before Comey's self-described defensive meeting. And let's remember, what was Trump's major beef with Comey? What was the reason that Trump was so displeased with him about the Russia matter? It was because in private, remember, he was denying, whenever Trump asked him, that Trump was a target of investigation and that there was no counterintelligence case filed open on Trump. Remember, he denied this to Congress, too, under penalty of perjury on 2 occasions. Then, in his own book, Comey reveals the disingenuous game that he was playing by saying that what he said was true in the literal sense. He was playing the game by insisting that, because the Russia case file didn't technically have Donald Trump's name on it, that somehow that counts as not having an investigation or the president not being a target. I mean, come on. He knew what the president meant when he asked him the question. He knew what the congressional oversight committees meant when they asked him the question. He knows what any sane, normal person means when asked, hey, am I being investigated by the FBI? They're not asking you, hey, is my specific name on the case file? They want to know if you're being investigated. He was taking investigative steps against the President of the United States. He lied. You don't need Trump's name on the case file to be investigating him. I mean, this whole charade was intended. The whole reason he's doing this is to, Trump is new. He's trying to lull Trump into a false sense of security, hoping to trip him up. And the problem was, and what pissed off Trump, was that even though Comey's telling him this in private, he's refusing to say it publicly, what he's telling him in private. And Trump's wondering, well, if what he's telling me is true, why won't he just say it when people ask him? That Trump was not a target of his investigation. Now, it's obvious that Comey knew that this, to say that would be misleading at the very least. So clearly he couldn't say it. The reality was that Trump, despite zero evidence to support, an investigation against him, was the ultimate target of the investigation. You don't really think that they were after minor players like Carter Page and George Papadopoulos? I mean, come on. We know they had nothing because Comey himself was calling the dossier salacious and unverified. And FBI Special Agent Peter Strzok, in a private text to his partner in adultery there, FBI lawyer Lisa Page, told her there was no there that he feared. So remember that the two of them, these two characters, Page and Strzok, they hated Trump and his supporters with a passion. And you had even them saying among themselves that they had nothing to make a case on. So you have Comey, every time he so much as has a meeting or a phone call with Trump, he stops everything he's doing when the meeting is over and starts typing up notes on the meeting or the phone call, and he's sticking copies of it in the safe and then another copy into the Crossfire Hurricane case file. He did that 9 times. One time even doing it in his car in the parking lot after the meeting. Such was his zealotry. Can you imagine? Finish up the meeting with a president of the United States. You get out to your car and you don't start the car and drive back to the office to your house. No, you start typing right there in the car the notes of the meeting. Oh my God, he might forget something. Then remember what I mentioned before. Comey, if you can believe this, had a plant inside the White House. A guy named Anthony Ferrante, who now that he's left the government employment, guess what this Anthony Ferrante guy does, and for who? Ferrante now works for BuzzFeed, trying to verify the already thoroughly discredited Steele memorandum. So in what RealClear Investigations says, a former National Security Council official called, quote, an unprecedented action, James Comey invented a non-existent FBI position for Anthony Ferrante, giving him the ability to, while he's working for the White House, retain a relationship with the FBI, keep all his clearances, and able to go back and forth to FBI HQ. The National Security Council Division supervisor says he was not allowed to get rid of Ferrante, who continued working at the White House in conflict with the no-contact policy between the Department of Justice and the White House. Then, when they finally get rid of this Obama holdover who they did not want around, this tick who had burrowed into the White House, Comey replaces him with another FBI official, Jordan Ray Kelly, who RealClear Investigations says worked closely with Robert Mueller when he was FBI director. So get this, Jordan Ray Kelly was signing in his predecessor into the White House, the FBI mole Ferrante. He's signing him in as a visitor while this guy was working for BuzzFeed on the Russia garbage. Then when Jordan Ray Kelly, he leaves the White House, guess where Jordan Ray Kelly ends up getting a job? With the same outfit with Ferrante. FTI Consulting, that's doing the Steele dossier verification work for BuzzFeed. How cozy is that? Comey slaps, these guys with bullcrap FBI made-up job titles and credentials so that they can keep reporting to him on the people in the White House, and when these holdover weeds finally get pulled out and sent on their way, they both go to work for BuzzFeed's consulting firm to handle the Russia junk. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The whole thing was an op that Comey was running against Trump, and the people in the White House. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that Hoover was doing when he was running things, using the FBI to manipulate political figures in the U.S. government. With his sensitive matter team and trying to play off the Crossfire Hurricane as not an investigation of Trump, but an investigation of Trump at the same time. If this RealClear Investigations report by Paul Sperry is true, then James Comey has got a lot of trouble ahead. That's all for this NeoUnrealist. If you want to help the channel, hit the like button for this video, leave a comment down below, hit the subscribe button if you're not subbed already, and click on the notification bell to set it to the all setting if you want to keep up with new content. Share the video on social media because YouTube certainly isn't going to do it. If it doesn't come from the likes of CNN or MSNBC, this type of content gets deranked. It's not going to appear in suggestions at the end of videos. So if you're inclined to go further than even that, toss your hard-earned dollars, your euros, your shekels into the tip jar. Go ahead and follow the links in the description below to Subscribe Star, PayPal, and even Patreon for you diehards who didn't leave that platform in the wake of their recent shenanigans. Now, all that out of the way, the fact that you're still around to hear this after wading through the shameless e-begging portion of the video tells me that you really want to see that IG report when it comes out in September. So, thanks for watching.